We all know that Mike Trout is the best individual player in the entire league, but does that mean that he's the best at everything? No, of course not. While he is a five-tool athlete, he does not have the best arm. He is not the fastest player in baseball, so that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to break down every single major category in baseball and figure out the #1 guy at each of those categories. If you want to see more videos like this, go ahead and slap a like on this one and also subscribe because we're on the road to 200,000 subs. And without further ado, let's just start talking baseball.
LeMahieu. Ground ball, that's going to get through the drawn-in infield. Urshela scores. Here comes Joe.
We are going to talk about pitchers in today's video, but we're going to save that towards the end because I really wanted to break down the offensive side of things. And we're going to start with contact. Who is the best contact hitter in all of baseball? I'm going to go with DJ LeMahieu. I first saw that he was going to be a contact star a couple years ago back in 2016. He had a .348 batting average, but he was playing in Coors Field, so a lot of people said that he was not going to be able to replicate that season going to Yankee Stadium. But guess what? He broke out for his best season to date. He had a .318 batting average away from Yankee Stadium in 2019 and a .340 batting average at Yankees. So whether he's home or away, it does not matter. He finished the season with 197 base hits. But here's where I really wanted to showcase DJ LeMahieu and his contact skills. And also the fact that he's a little bit clutch. He's not the most clutch hitter in baseball. We'll talk about that in the video. But he did have a .389 batting average with runners in scoring position. That led all of baseball by a pretty wide margin. So LeMahieu, I think that he is easily the best contact hitter. Maybe Rafael Devers in the next couple seasons. Jose Altuve is always going to be up here, but let's face it, Jose Altuve, he might have been aided by some trash cans. So for right now, LeMahieu, he is the contact king.
The Cleveland Indians bullpen.
Gallo smashes one. Oh my goodness, where will that land? We're tied up.
So as you guys just saw, Joey Gallo is going to be my #1 pick for the most powerful hitter in all of baseball. Now, this was honestly pretty hard because we had the picks of Jorge Soler, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, Nelson Cruz, Pete Alonso, but I went with Joey Gallo because of a few stats that I think are super important. So in back-to-back seasons, Joey Gallo had 40+ home runs, and in 70 games in 2019, he had 22, so he was well on pace to have a 45 to 50 home run campaign last season. Before he had an oblique strain, and he broke his hamate bone, so he couldn't swing a bat for a good amount of time. But 22 in 70 games, that is no joke. One stat that I do want to point out is for his career, Joey Gallo has 1 home run for every 12 at-bats. That is on par with Mark McGwire and Babe Ruth. So I think that's pretty good company. And also, his 101.2 mile per hour average exit velocity was #1 in baseball, and also he was #1 in most baseballs barreled up. So when he hits the ball, he hits it harder than anyone. He also lowered his launch angle, so he's going to hit the ball harder and harder and harder as his career progresses. So I think that Joey Gallo is a safe pick, but if you went with Aaron Judge or Nelson Cruz, I wouldn't fault you.
To short again, Arcia. And late on the throw.
If you've ever watched Foolish Baseball on YouTube, who in my opinion is the best baseball YouTuber that YouTube has to offer, I think that his video on Tim LeCastro is so much fun to watch, so I'm going to link it in the description down below. But he showcased just how fast Tim LeCastro is and is going to be going forward. He's 22 for 22 in stolen base attempts, and he's the #1 guy in the Baseball Savant sprint speed. So he's faster than Trey Turner on sprint speed. Now again, if you don't know what sprint speed is, I'm going to go ahead and put it up on the screen right now. It's pretty much the fastest a player is during a 1-second window, whether they're hitting a double or a triple, anything like that. The fastest that a player can be during 1 second, that's sprint speed, and Tim LeCastro wins that pretty easily.
And a drive to right field. Yelich again.
So in the beginning of the video, I talked about how DJ LeMahieu had the highest batting average with runners in scoring position. So you think that he would be the most clutch hitter? No. Christian Yelich is going to be my #1 pick for the most clutch hitter in baseball. He led the entire league with 6 home runs, where he actually tied with Anthony Rendon and Mike Moustakas for 6 home runs in high leverage at-bats. So whether it was 2 outs and he needed to hit a home run to, secure the victory or tie up the game, he had 6 of those, and he also led baseball with an 18 weighted runs created and WPA. WPA is wins probability added, so all that really means, I'm going to simplify it real quick. Every single plate appearance that positively or negatively affects the result of how your team is going to win, he led baseball. So every time that he was in the batter's box, his team was more likely to win than not. So he led baseball on that. Home runs and the high leverage at-bats. The only thing that people fault Christian Yelich for is his subpar defense, but his offense is so good that he was a couple points ahead of Mike Trout in the WPA wins probability added department, which is crazy because that's Mike freaking Trout.
And that ball's hit in the air, left center field. Laureano on the run, and he makes the catch. They got a chance to double up Young, and the throw is in time, and he got him. Unbelievable.
Oh my God.
So we've talked about contact hitters, power hitters, speed, and clutch. So I think that pretty much covers all of the hitting side of things. Now we can talk about some defenders. The best arm in baseball, I think that we can all agree, goes to Ramon Laureano. He led the American League with assists in 2018 and then backed it up with 10 more in 2019. And there's an actual stat for Ramon. He was the fastest to 11 outfield assists in 55 games. He was the quickest to do that since Jeff Francoeur. And if you've never watched Jeff Francoeur play, all I have to say is he had the best arm in baseball for quite some time. So I think, without a doubt, Ramon Laureano has the best arm in Major League Baseball.
Here's the 1-1. Back toward the middle. Andrelton Simmons to his left, has it, spins around, fires the first, got him. In defensive runs saved. Well, he saves 2 runs with that outstanding play.
And last but not least, before we start talking about some pitchers, the best glove in baseball, I think, again, we can all agree this is pretty much universal. Andrelton Simmons, who had a down year defensively in 2019, still ended up with a 1.8 defensive WAR. He's already racked up a near 27 career WAR just at shortstop. So again, I don't mean to really steal the thunder of Foolish Baseball, because this is not a Foolish Baseball video by any means, but he is so in-depth and knows what he's talking about that he has Tim LeCastro as the fastest guy. He thinks that Andrelton Simmons is going to be a Hall of Famer, and honestly, he's kind of the second coming of Ozzie Smith, because they're both pretty good hitters and excellent defenders. So if you see Simmons in the Hall of Fame, it's most likely because he ended up with a career 40 defensive WAR or something insane like that. It could definitely happen, and he's got the best glove that I've ever seen.
To right center, and the 1-2 pitch to Baez. Ground ball to short, Paul DeYoung. 1 away. Looking ahead to the bottom of the 9th inning for St. Louis.
This one isn't going to take much time because we all know this. The guy who throws the hardest in baseball, the king of velocity, is Jordan Hicks. He was #1 in average fastball velocity at 100.9, and he was second, crazy enough, just behind a guy I've never even really heard of, but he was second in sinker velocity at 101.2. Could you imagine an average sinker at 101.2? It gets up to 104, gets up to 105. So if you don't believe me, look at this chart. This is a chart of him throwing 103 plus. Yeah, he can do it a few times in one season. And honestly, he can do it a few times in one game.
And the 1-2 pitch to Carpenter. The strikeout for Hader. We head to the 6th and we're tied 1-1.
These stats actually don't make sense. The nastiest pitcher in baseball is hands down Josh Hader. He had a 15.8 strikeouts per 9 in 2018. But the craziest stat from last season, or actually 2 years ago, was the fact that he set a Major League Baseball record. He struck out a whopping 16 consecutive hitters. And also in 2019, he bumped up his strikeouts per 9 from 15.8 to 16.4, so he got nastier. Now, he didn't set any records or anything like that, but also I think in 2018, he set the record for most strikeouts from a left-handed reliever. So from 2018 to 2019, he somehow got even nastier. He upped up his strikeouts per 9 and continued to be one of the most dominant forces in baseball. But do you think that he's the most dominant pitcher in the entire league? In my opinion, I don't think so.
Has been aggressive up in the strike zone. The 1-2 and goes up there again at 100, and Yelich strikes out.
When you look at the stats of Josh Hader, you're almost left speechless by how dominant he is. But if we're talking about a complete dominant effort, destroying the opponents for 6 to 7, sometimes 8 or 9 innings, Gerrit Cole has to be my pick. He led Major League Baseball with a 13.8 strikeouts per 9 as a starting pitcher in 2019. He was also #1 in ERA plus and FIP. Fielding independent pitching. That is a big time stat. So when you're #1 in FIP and you strike out 13.8 hitters per 9 innings, that is disgusting. His fastball can reach 100 miles an hour and he routinely goes 7+ innings. I'm going to go ahead and throw up a stat right now. The last couple months of the season, the lowest amount of innings that he pitched in a single game was 6. Every single start you could count on Gerrit Cole striking out 8 to 10 hitters, going 6 innings, and his month-to-month ERA towards the end of the season never got higher than 2.36. Disgusting. I mean, he's not the nastiest pitcher because that is Josh Hader, but in terms of dominance, it's him and Jacob deGrom right there at the cream of the crop, but in my opinion, it's got to go to Gerrit Cole.
There they go. Here's the pitch. Yates strikes out Bellinger, and that ends the inning.
Here we are, guys, the final major category, our final player in today's video. We're going to talk about the most clutch pitcher in the entire league. If it was 2018, it would easily be Edwin Diaz. He had a season for the ages. Maybe a couple years ago, it was Wade Davis. But talking about 2019, 2020, and beyond, my pick is Kirby Yates. He was dominant in 2018. He was dominant in 2019. To break it down just a little bit further, in 138 high leverage at-bats, so when a hitter is in a situation where he can give his team the lead or tie it up because there's a runner in scoring position, he held hitters to a 159 batting average. He was also second in save percentage, just behind Ken Giles, but Ken Giles didn't throw as many games. I believe that he threw 53, while Kirby Yates actually threw 60 games. So there's a few more chances that Giles could have actually had that blip in the radar where he blew a save or something like that. So because Kirby Yates was so good in high leverage situations for 2 consecutive seasons, he's going to be in my pick, and that is going to conclude today's video. If you enjoyed, make sure you guys slap a like on this one and subscribe. If you want to see more videos or have any ideas, please let me know in the comment section down below, because baseball should be coming back, so we're trying to fill the void, talk about it every single day, so I could use some help. Love you guys. Catch you in the next one. Peace out.